Greetings one and all, and welcome to Zayfard Plays Stellaris. Yes, after having watched this game for, about a month, sort of a week into the build-up and, the first few weeks post-launch, I've really loved the look of this game and thought this would be a fantastic game to show on this channel. So that's what we're going to do. Now, first episode, I'm going to create a brand new race, so if you're not interested in sort of finding out how I choose the race, how the race is designed, etc., please feel free to move to the next episode. I'll call it episode 1 to make life easier for everyone. And that should be up, hopefully, if I've got my timings right, now. I'll try and get these both out at the same time. Kind of depends on my internet goes, so if this is up and the episode 1 isn't, I do apologise, my internet is being really slow at the moment, and uploads take me about 2 hours. However, enough of me complaining about my internet provider. Let's start a new game. So my experience with this so far, as I've said, I've watched a couple of Let's Players. I've probably watched about 60 episodes on Let's Plays of a couple of different YouTubers playing this game, and I've got a good idea how it works. I've also spent about 8-9 hours playing it myself. I've done a couple of different races on this, trying out all the transport methods, etc., so I can get a feel of what's right for me. In doing this, I've created a few races. One's magically disappeared, which is a shame. One is the Terran Research Alliance, which I sort of did as a research-based race. It was actually my first one, which, because it's Terran and we might see humans in this game anyway, I'm not going to include in this game. And that's one of the nice things. When you create races, you've got this little button here. You can either say it might turn up, so they're allowed, but no guarantees. Or with the lock symbol, where it is guaranteed to turn up. Or finally grayed out, it's not turning up at all. Now my second one was the Cult of Cthulhu. These were quite cool. I didn't go very far into them, but they were quite cool. So I'm going to allow these guys to turn up. Oh, there's a random button here. Ooh, not for this game. That's really cool. Those who've been following me since the early days, that's about 7 months ago, will know I love random, I love not knowing. So this button for me is fantastic. I love the look of that. Not going to do it today though. Today I'm going to create a race of my own design. So we start off with how they look, which is pretty cool, and you've got so many options. Loads of different mammals, reptilian looks, avian, arthropods, and I love this. I mean, I absolutely love the way, just look at some of these models. That is grotesque on that fungoid, but these are a lovely way, to me at least, of starting off the basis of the race. So they give you a bit of a story of who they are. I mean, just by looking at them. So, I mean, this guy, this is clearly a symbiote type race. So this species is a drone species that's been taken over by the fungus and is controlling every action they do. Looking at him, probably leaving him in hideous pain as well, which is, yeah, not good. Scarily, there are some species of fungus in the human world. The human world, yes. Oh, human world, or in other words, our planet, that will do this to certain animals. Specifically, I think they're out in the Brazilian rainforest, somewhere like that. Please note, my geography is dreadful, so don't take any accuracy of where I said. But I think in a forest somewhere where they will grow in an animal and literally mummify it. It's disgusting, but amazing at the same time. This is sort of based on reality. So I have to admit, I'm not a fan of the fungoids at all. Maybe one episode series I'll do it, but not this one. Molluscoids are pretty cool. They have a nice mix, actually, including good old Cthulhu. They've got space hydras, which is kind of awesome. A slightly friendlier Cthulhus. Arthropods, which are basically insects, and these are pretty cool actually. There's some really good stuff in here. These are give a real feel of who they are. Avians are obviously bird-like. I mean, this space parrot's pretty cool. And this is just unpleasant. Reptilians are reptiles, nice and easy, and they are pretty cool actually. They are quite nice. And mammalians, obviously mammals, so you have all sorts, humans, no idea, anthropomorphic warthogs, everyone's worst nightmares wrapped up into a single body, flying monkey things. So they're pretty cool. You can use all of these to... Well, you could use them to start off the idea of your race, to give you a seed of what you're going to do. Or, as I'm doing, coming in with a good idea, create a race that really fits what you want to do. And those who've seen my previous series, especially Galiciv, will know I tend to go heavy on science. Science just seems to be the way my mind works. So, this race is going to be heavily based on science. And I'm also a bit of a fan of birds in general, specifically owls. Wise owls? Makes sense to me. And I know there's an owl one here. It shows I spend a lot of time looking at this and having a plan. So, visuals, I'm going for this sort of owl-like species, and we're going to be quite intelligent. And this is a lovely thing with this game. All these looks I've just done here makes no difference. I mean, it really doesn't make any difference in the game itself. This is just how this is just how everything looks. It doesn't affect gameplay, this is just what your species looks like, which is fantastic. Speaking of species, I need to think of a name for them. I'm dreadful at this. So, that's what I was going to do. I'm going to call them something based on sciencey things, but change it slightly, so as not to make it too much like I'm breaking anyone's copyright here. The observant of you might notice what I've done. But I'm going to call these the Silene. So the Silene for singular and Silene for plural. Now I'm not going to say what I've just ripped off there by very delicately and skillfully changing the shape of one of the letters, but I'm sure you can work that out. But yes, I'm dreadful with names in general. One of the other cool things you have here is you have name lists, so you can choose the basis, you know, what your leads are going to be called. Basic planet names, fleet names, ship names. And all of these are slightly different, you know. So if we go for Avian 1, ship names might be the Surly Hatchling or the Indignant Hatchling. Fleet names. Tasari... Oh, no idea how you pronounce that. Starflock. Which is cool. I can't pronounce half those, so I ain't using that one. Yeah, all the way down to Fungoids, which... Not even going to try. Those are unpronounced. Those are unpronounceable. But down to humans, which makes sense. Those really are really nice and easy to pronounce, which is good. However, when looking through my earlier playthrough... Oh, what's the molluscoid one? They're not too bad, actually. Reptilians are dreadful. But looking through, I did find one I quite liked for this race. That was a nice and avian, and I could pronounce. Avian B. So that's going to be how our ships are done. And a ship suffix, I think Avian Starfleet. ASF. No, Avian Space... I did not think that one through. I'm just going to do this as the... Oh, I really did not think that one through, did I? Avian... No. You know what? I'm not going to give a ship suffix, because all the ones that make sense to me are rude. Oh, I really did not think that through. Oh, I should not find that funny. Okay. Sorry, compose yourself, Zayfard. So anyway, moving on to racial traits, which is a lovely way. Now this is where we start affecting how the races work. So you have basically 4 picks you can use. You can pick up to 4 traits for your species to make them unique and fit how you want to play, give them unique advantages, disadvantages, that sort of thing. But to start with, you only have 2 points to spend. And every trait has a point, so you want Industrious to give you extra minerals? Well, that's 2 points. But you've got 3 picks. Intelligent gives you 10% to all your out science, and that's really cool. You have 3 sciences in this game. Engineering, physics and society, so you're researching 3 things at once. It's really cool. You know, all the way down to things like enduring, resilient, vulnerable, and these increase the lifespan of your leaders, and that I love with this game. And this is to be a crossover 4X with a grand strategy. So in typical grand strategy style, you have leaders, you have rulers throughout the game, and they're important. They give you different bonuses, different abilities, and they age and they die. So if you have a really fantastic scientist working on something really important, they might just suddenly die on you. You'll need to get somebody new who's not as good, and everything will take longer, and that is amazing. I mean, it's a pain at times, but it's absolutely amazing as well. So things like Venerable give you a plus 120 years to the lifespan, which means your species could live for 200, 300 years, which is amazing. Now for this, and obviously this is 4 points. Well, I've only got 2 to spend, so you have the negative ones, rather like in Galiciv, only I think more interesting. So you can have things like Decadent, which will give you an extra point. But resource output, basically whatever you're doing, if you don't have slaves, you're going to have a minus 10% to your resources, your people are not going to be happy. Or Repugnant, other species like you less, which is pretty cool. Of course there's a flip side of Charismatic, which means the other ones like you more. You know, Communal, your happiness is just better in general. Or Solitary, you're not happy. Now, or of course Celebratory. They've all got their own explanations, so this is fantastic. Now, the first thing I'm going to want to do, very first thing I'm going to want to do for this race, which just makes total sense to me, I want Intelligent. Well, actually no, I'm torn on this. I could go Intelligence, which gives me plus 10% to all 3 sciences, or I could spend 3 points and get plus 15% on all of them. Now if I do Intelligence, I don't need to do any negatives to allow for this. But if I do these 3, I will need a negative. However, if I go Intelligence, I can have a negative and then get an extra ability, and I'll only take up 3, whereas if I do this, I'll only get Science. And I'm not sure what the right move here is. Let's have a look for a negative first, see which one I'm happy to have, and then decide what I'm going to do. Because I want all 3 of the sciences to have a bonus. That's just how my mind works in this game. That's how I want to do this. Now, I could have slow learners, so my leaders get less experience. I'm not a fan of that. I can have weak, so my armies do less damage. That's only on ground fighting. So if I go start a war and go invade people, that will have an impact, which possibly. Sedentary, the species has a sedentary past and its members are reluctant to migrate away from where they grew up. So the migration time is increased and the resettlement cost is increased. Now that's, as far as I understand, is when you're moving people between planets. The amount of time it takes to move them from the planet they're established on to a new planet, which I don't know how useful that's going to be honest. Solitary just reduces your happiness, which that can be pretty bad actually. Or you can go Repugnant, which would not be good. That means every other species likes you less, and one of the big things in this game is diplomacy and working as federations, because the way you win is very different. Basically either you have to control the bulk of the universe on your own, or you and your allies / the members of your federation have to control the bulk of the universe. Now obviously the more people you have working with you, the easier it is to win, so working with people in this game is almost required. So that's not a good move. Decadent. You're unhappy unless you have slaves. That's got several disadvantages, not just the slaves, but it limits your ability to create your empire, because that's really cool. You get to not only customize this part of where your race is on their genetic traits, you get to customize their politics, which we'll get to shortly. So that for me, as this reduces your choices there, I'm not going for the Decadent. I'm not going for Repugnant either. I don't particularly want to go Solitary. I really don't actually. You know, just reduction of happiness is not good. Weak, wars are going to happen. Slow learners and slow breeders, and non-adaptive. All of these are bad. All of these are bad. So, I'm thinking Sedentary. But basically, my guys start on a world and they stay on this world. I don't move them around much. So that's fine. So, could I do all three of these now? Now I've chosen a disadvantage. However, I like the look of Rapid Breeder. This species reproduces at a very rapid rate, increasing population growth, which that would be useful. It means we colonise worlds so much quicker, and as we can't move people, that could really help. And I think I'm going to do that actually. I think we're going to be rapid breeders and intelligent. This species is highly intelligent and enjoys faster technological progress. So that's our genetic setup. And actually, as this game goes on, that can change either through you changing it yourself. I don't know how that works. Or through random genetic mutation, which is pretty cool. So let's choose our starting leader. We'll start with the male, called Plume of Magenta. So, I mean, this is really cool, you know, you get to name your first ruler with their gender. That's a lovely idea. And then you can change some of these sometimes. So the phenotype, which just changes basically, I think, well, effectively in the human species, they do that by race. Hair is hairstyle. Colour variant is obviously what colour patterns they have, and these guys can change none of those. And finally, clothes. So, what clothes strike to me as sciencey? That looks awesome, actually. I do like that. I like that one, actually. I really like that. That's what they look like. And next, which is awesome, you get to choose what your home system is like. And this will always be the same system. The same name, the same star name, and the same world type. And these make little difference in game. You know, you have continental, tropical, desert. I love the fact that at the back here they change as you move between the worlds. Arid, tundra, Arctic, and ocean worlds. Now, they do have an impact in game, despite the fact I said they have almost no impact. Their impact is minimal. The impact is basically what world you can colonise. That's it. So if we have a continental world, we'll easily be able to colonise continental, and each of the ones either side, so tropical and ocean, we'll be able to colonise fairly easily, whereas the ones down here, things like arid and tundra, will be almost inhospitable to us. Which is a really cool idea. You know, which means we'll be fighting over for people for similar worlds, or possibly for a star system with two different worlds where we can't both get them. So, what makes sense for these guys? They're an owl-type species. I don't think ocean works. Arctic, don't like those as Arctic. Tundra, no, definitely not tundra or arid or desert. So, tropical or continental. You know what? I like the idea of tropical, just because I like the look of that. To be honest, all the trees. Humid, rocky worlds with a thick nitrogen-oxygen atmosphere. Seasons with significant precipitation are interchanged with dry periods. Most land masses are covered in dense vegetation. And I love all this flavour text. It doesn't mean anything in the game, it just gives you some flavour. Homeworld. Oscock Prime. No, don't like that. Yaris Prime. I like that, and on the Yaris planet. The Yaris star. So this is fantastic. Now, city appearances. And again, this means nothing. This is just how cool it looks. So you can have Mammalian, which is basically human world. Reptilian, which is pretty cool. Looks kind of like a sci-fi human. Avian, which is heavily tree-inspired and heavily high up, which is awesome. Molluscoid, which is weird. Fungoid, which is also weird. And Anthropod, which, well, I'm not going to say what that looks like. But as we are birds, we will have avian cities. And here is one of the parts I'm loving already. Government ethics. Now this is two parts here. Governments and ethics. Interestingly, they are the other way around. So you get to choose what your species ethics are. You have 3 points to spend. And you have some which are polar opposites. So militarist and pacifist, you choose one or the other. You can't be a pacifistic militarist. You also have xenophobe and xenophile. But they're xenophile, they love aliens, xenophobes hate them. Then individualist and collectivist. And they have their bonuses, and they all have their bonuses and disadvantages, and down to materialist and spiritualist. However, as you choose these, That unlocks some of your government types. So the base government, you can have an indirect democracy. You hold an election every 5 years, and that happens in the game. It gives you a mini quest every time you get an election. To select a new leader, leader's skills level +1, leadership recruitment is reduced, so that's pretty cool. So all of these government types have an advantage. All of them. Plutocratic autocracy, oligocracy, I have no idea what that. But it's basically you're ruled by a wealthy elite. So elections are held every 40 to 50 years. No idea what that does. I'm assuming the same as the other one with the mini, with the mini quests. And you get extra energy and mineral. Or despotic empire. So this is literally you have a leader for life. Buildings cost less, and it boosts the output from slaves. Now all of these I can't touch, so I haven't got the right stuff. So let's start with how we are. I'm liking the idea of being materialist. As we reach for the stars, we must put away childish things, gods, spirits, and other phantasms of the brain. Reality is cruel and unforgiving, yet we must steel ourselves and secure the survival of our race through the unflinching pursuit of science and technology. It thus cost me 1 ethics point. Now if I want, which that gives me an extra 5% to all my sciences, so I'm now up to +15. Now I could go fanatical, and that will give me an actual total of +20, but it cost me 2 ethics points, so reduce my other options. But by unlocking Materialist, I've now unlocked direct democracy. The government is a materialistic form of democracy where citizens use computer networks to vote directly on most matters. So this gives us more planets we can have in the core sector. That has an impact on the game. It's actually pretty useful, I think, but I'll explain that as we run out of core planets. Or a science dictatorate. Election every 40... Hang on. Oh yeah, election every 5 years. I did wonder about that for a second. We have an extra research alternative and extra leader capacity, which is pretty cool. Or a despotic homogeny. And this is a research one. Basically, citizens are viewed as little more than cogs in the state machinery. Efficiency and technological progress are valued above all things. Because there's extra research speed and extra survey speed, which is really cool. So, we have a species that's grown up being really intelligent. And loving intelligence. Now, do we want to be xenophiles or xenophobes? I don't care either way on that, actually. They've got their advantages, but I don't think I'll be using them. And they also don't unlock options. So, individualist. Our species being individualist, all it does actually is lock options, so you can see all of these dictatorships we can't do anymore. At all. Whereas if we go collectivist, all of the democracy ones are gone entirely. Now if we go spiritualist, you notice the science is gone, and suddenly we have theocratic ones, which is really cool. And of course we have militaristic. They will give us military republic, so reduce the army upkeep, reduce ship upkeep, and makes people happier during war. This one will give us ships cost less, and ship upgrades cost less, which is really cool. And dictatorship, we have an extra naval capacity and ship upgrade, and each ruler can build an oversized ship. Some of these have extra things in them, which is really awesome. Now, I definitely want to go materialist. Do I want to go pacifist here? Because this opens a new one, which is, well, peaceful again. And that's cool. I mean, in an enlightened democracy, each ruler can build a special park building, reduce the cost of edicts, increases edict duration, and have more core planets. I mean, this is really cool, the stuff we can do. Pacifist, what does that do though? Gives us extra food, but reduces our army damage, and reduces war happiness, which, if people attack us, we're going to be unhappy, so I'm not going pacifist. I am going to go fanatic materialist to get huge amounts of science and really push that. Now, here's what I want to look at. I get extra energy credits for individualist, but our ethics will diverge, so people have different views on this. As the species grow, different members will have different ideas. And it'll increase that chance and reduce the tolerance of slavery, but give us more money. I'm not sure I like that. Xenophobe, high alien slave tolerance. But we are less trustful towards other races. Now, I think I am going to go militarist because I always end up fighting anyway. So this will give us alliance influence costs more, rivalry influence gains us more, our army does more damage, and our population is happier when we fight. So I'm going to go for that. So we're going to be fanatical, we're going to be fanatic, materialistic militarists. So yes, what's happened on our world? So we've had two subspecies battling it out. Both fighting, one fighting with brawn and strength and power, and one with intelligence and cunning, and strangely enough, the guys who were able to design the bigger weapons did better. So now to choose the type, we could go the military route, but actually for me, I want to go down science, and I think you can change these later. I could have extra planets, but I don't want to, in all honesty. Extra research alternatives would be good, and more leaders is good. Having said that, extra research speed and survey speed could be useful. And each ruler can build an elite assault army. Interesting. I'm torn between these two right now. I think, because I haven't played with the 40 to 50 years science election types, I'm going to try that. We're going to be a science dictatorate. Every 40 to 50 years we'll select a new ruler. We'll get an extra research alternative and an extra leader capacity, which as the game goes on that will be really useful. Empire name. I think the Avian Techno Confederacy. Federacy. And the adjectives, that's Audio Techno I probably got this wrong. I never really understand the adjectives. But yeah, again, this is just how we're named. Now, for me, it's now time for the shield, which I'm dreadful at designing. This will look awful. I apologise for that now. I have no artistic skills. But I like the idea of this. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. Oh, they've actually fixed the colours at last. And I think light blue there. Secondary colour. Yeah, I like that. And this colour will be shown on the overview map so I can see who we are. We'll see that shortly. Now, flag shape. There's an awful lot of options here. I think actually I don't like that one. I like this one. That really works for me. Okay, and now for ships. So when we start the game, we'll have one of three weapons types. Projectile weapons, which are really good against shields and just destroy them. But they have very limited range. Laser weapons, which basically tear through armour. They're medium to close range. Or missile weapons, so they're space-to-space missiles armed with nuclear warheads. Missiles have an excellent range, but are vulnerable to interception. And those who've seen me play Scalasiv will know I love missiles, so we're going missiles. Now, penultimate choice, and the last important choice, FTL method. There are three methods in the game. Warp travel, which is basically Star Trek. So you get to the edge of space, hit the warp drives, and you go between sectors. You can go anywhere you like, you have no limits. I think there might be a range limit, but it's basically no limits. It's quite slow, however. Or hyperspace travel, where basically you have hyperspace lanes in space, so tears in space, and you can basically open them up, go through them, and you go between systems. And you're stuck with whatever system you get to. There's no change on that. Or the wormhole travel, where you have a wormhole generator and connect 2 points in space. One where the wormhole generator is, and one anywhere within range. They're incredibly fast, not quite as fast as hyperspace, which is the fastest, but you can go anywhere within range, and you can create more wormholes all over the place, including in an enemy territory, which is quite cool, and continue your range that way. Now, the disadvantage here is you are vulnerable to attack. If people decide to attack your wormhole network, you're done. You're in trouble, because you can't move. This is the only way to travel FT, to go faster than light. And I love that method, it works for me, so that's what we're doing. And the final option is ship types, and they're just ships. It really doesn't matter. Actually, no, I don't know if that's the case. I don't think it matters. You can actually design your own ships, which is awesome, but I don't think these matter. So I'm going to go, as I'm avian, I'm going avian ships. So this is our species. We're the Avian Techno Confederacy. We are militaristic fanatic materialists. We're sedentary, but we are rapid breeders and we are very intelligent. And are nuclear missile users, with wormhole travel. Now the cool thing is here, you can actually save the race to use later. And that's it, that's the race set up. So yeah, that's the end of this episode. I'm going to put a cut in here. And after I've done this, we'll go straight into episode 1, where I'll give a quick overview to everyone of the choices, and then get straight into the game, do the final choices of, universe size, all that sort of stuff, because that's quite quick. So thank you so much for joining me on this episode. I do hope it's been interesting hearing how my thought process works and why I've chosen certain races, etc. And I do hope you'll join me in the first true episode, where we take the Avian Techno Confederacy out into the universe and see how we fare. So I do hope you'll join me for that. But until then, farewell.